This episode is sponsored by Calm Mind Behavioral Health Counseling. If the topics we explore today resonate with you, it might be a sign to seek a supportive space for your own journey. Michael C. Thompson, the licensed professional counselor behind Calm Mind, offers convenient and confidential online therapy, allowing you to engage from the comfort of your own home. He specializes in helping individuals navigate complex challenges like depression, men's issues, and addictive behaviors by fostering deep self-awareness and genuine self-compassion. Take the first step and visit calmmind.life to schedule a free, no-obligation 15-minute consultation. Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Mindful Insights podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Michaels, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by my brilliant friend and co-host, Michelle Thomas.
It is so good to be here, Charlie. Starting a new journey like this is always exciting, and I can't think of a better person to do it with. We're planning to tackle some really important topics on this show.
We certainly are. And before we dive in, just a gentle reminder that while we explore topics related to emotional well-being, we are not mental health professionals. This conversation is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for therapy or advice from a qualified professional. Please be sure to seek out guidance for your individual needs. Today, we're kicking off a whole series by laying the groundwork, exploring a topic that is profoundly complex and often misunderstood: personality disorders. So, Michelle, let's start with the foundational question. What exactly is a personality disorder? The term itself can sound so heavy and intimidating.
It really can. It sounds like a judgment on who someone is at their core. But clinically, it's not about having a good or bad personality. It's about a specific kind of pattern.
That's the perfect word for it. The official definition describes it as an enduring pattern of inner experience and behavior that deviates markedly from the expectations of the individual's culture. And the key words in that clinical definition are enduring, pervasive, and inflexible. This isn't a bad mood or a rough patch. It's a deeply ingrained way of seeing the world that starts in adolescence or early adulthood and shows up everywhere.
I think a good way to picture it is to think of a computer. Most of us have emotional issues that are like a software glitch, an app that crashes. It's frustrating. You fix it, you move on. But a personality disorder is more like a problem with the entire operating system. It affects how every single program runs, all the time. It's inflexible. You can't just switch to a different way of processing information.
That's a brilliant metaphor. And because it's the operating system they've always known, people with these disorders often don't see their own patterns as the problem. This is what clinicians call being egocentric. Their way of being feels normal and right to them. The distress they feel often comes from the consequences, the constant conflict in relationships, the job losses, the isolation, not from the traits themselves.
So they might come to therapy saying, everyone in my life is so difficult and unreasonable, without realizing that their own rigid way of interacting is creating that reaction in others. They see the world as the source of their problems, which is a huge hurdle for seeking help.
Exactly right. Now, to help organize these patterns, the Diagnostic Manual groups the 10 distinct personality disorders into 3 clusters. Think of them as families of conditions that share certain traits. Cluster A is known as the odd or eccentric group. This includes paranoid personality disorder, which involves deep distrust, schizoid personality disorder, characterized by social detachment, and schizotypal personality disorder, which is marked by eccentric behavior and acute social discomfort.
Okay, so that's the first family. What's the second?
Next is cluster B, the dramatic, emotional, or erratic cluster. This group is probably the most well-known and, sadly, the most stigmatized. It includes antisocial personality disorder, a pattern of disregarding others' rights, borderline personality disorder, known for instability in emotions and relationships, histrionic personality disorder, which involves excessive attention-seeking, And narcissistic personality disorder, a pattern of grandiosity and a lack of empathy.
That cluster definitely gets a lot of airtime in pop culture, often in very unhelpful ways.
Completely. And finally, there's cluster C, the anxious or fearful cluster. This includes avoidant personality disorder, characterized by social inhibition and fear of rejection, dependent personality disorder, an excessive need to be taken care of, and obsessive compulsive personality disorder, a preoccupation with perfectionism and control. And it's important to note that last one is very different from the anxiety disorder, OCD.
It's an incredibly broad spectrum. You have everything from someone who seems to have no interest in people at all to someone who desperately needs to be the center of attention. It really shows how complex the landscape of personality is.
It really does. And our goal in this series is to move past the labels and explore the very real human experiences behind each of them. Let's take a quick break. And when we return, we'll dive into where these patterns actually come from.
Are you a man feeling exhausted and trapped in an emotionally unstable relationship? Do you constantly question your own reality? The workbook, Reclaiming Your Reality, A Man's Guide to Healing from the Exhaustion, Emasculation, and Entrapment of an Emotionally Unstable Relationship, is for you. It provides the tools to understand the chaos, set powerful boundaries, and start rebuilding your life based on your own values. Stop walking on eggshells and start reclaiming your reality. Find the workbook on Amazon or learn more at calmmind.life.
Welcome back to Mindful Insights. Before the break, we laid out the what, a map of the 10 personality disorders. So Charlie, let's get to the million-dollar question. Why? Where do these deeply ingrained patterns come from?
It's the most important question, and the scientific consensus points to what's called a biosocial model. It's a classic and very real case of nature meeting nurture. It suggests that these disorders aren't caused by one or the other, but by the toxic interplay between them.
Okay, so let's break that down. What's the bio part of the equation?
The bio part refers to the genetic and biological vulnerabilities a person is born with. Research consistently shows a strong genetic component. The heritability for most personality disorders is around 50%, which is significant. There can also be differences in brain structure and function, particularly in the circuits that regulate emotion and impulse control.
So you can have a child who is born, metaphorically speaking, with the volume knob on their emotions already turned up to 11. That's their biological predisposition. So then the social part must be about what kind of environment that child grows up in.
Precisely. The social part points to adverse environmental experiences, especially during childhood. The link between personality disorders and a history of childhood trauma, like physical, sexual, or emotional abuse, is incredibly strong, but it doesn't have to be overt abuse. A key risk factor is growing up in what's called an invalidating environment.
And an invalidating environment is one where a child's emotions and experiences are consistently dismissed, ignored, or even punished. So you have this highly sensitive child, and every time they express that big emotion, they're told, "You're too sensitive, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about," or they're just ignored. Their inner world is treated like it's wrong.
Exactly. That vulnerable child and that invalidating environment is the perfect storm for a personality disorder to develop. The environment fails to teach them how to understand, label, or manage their own emotions, creating the very deficits that become the hallmarks of the disorder. Now, this is what makes these disorders so different from something like depression.
How so?
Most mood disorders are episodic. A person might have a major depressive episode that is a clear and distinct change from their usual self. A personality disorder is pervasive. It is their usual self. To use your metaphor from before, a depressive episode is a severe thunderstorm that rolls in, but a personality disorder is the climate itself. It's the baseline weather you've lived in your entire life.
That distinction is so important. It helps explain why the mood swings in borderline personality disorder, for example, can look so different from those in bipolar disorder, even though they are often confused.
It's one of the most common points of diagnostic confusion. In BPD, the mood shifts are typically very rapid and are a direct reaction to an interpersonal event, a fear of abandonment, or a perceived slight. They can last minutes or hours. In bipolar disorder, the mood episodes of depression or mania are more sustained and autonomous. They last for days or weeks and represent a more distinct change from the person's baseline without a clear, immediate trigger.
Getting that distinction right feels absolutely critical because if you misdiagnose the problem, you're going to prescribe the wrong solution.
You are, and finding the right solution is what offers so much hope. We'll talk about what that treatment looks like right after this.
Looking for a story that's as gripping as it is insightful? The novel Anger's Bitch by Michael C. Thompson is a character-driven drama that pulls you in from the first page and doesn't let go. It's a powerful story about the weight of the past and the courage it takes to earn a second chance. With unforgettable characters and a plot that keeps you guessing, this is more than just a book. It's an experience. If you love a story with soul, heart, and suspense, Anger's Bitch is your next must-read. Available now on Amazon.
Welcome back. We've explored the what and the why of personality disorders. Now let's turn to the most important part of the conversation: treatment and recovery. When people hear how deeply ingrained these patterns are, they often wonder if change is even possible. Which leads to the question I think is on everyone's mind. Is there a pill you can take for a personality disorder?
That is a critical question, Michelle, and the answer is a clear and simple no. There are currently no medications approved by the FDA to specifically treat any personality disorder itself. This is because these are disorders of psychological structure and skills deficits, which medication can't directly fix.
So what role does medication play? Because it is often prescribed.
It plays a crucial adjunctive role. The goal is to target specific debilitating symptoms like co-occurring depression, anxiety, or severe agitation. The idea is to lower the emotional temperature enough for the person to be able to engage in the real work of healing, which is psychotherapy.
I like that. It's like putting a cast on a badly broken bone. The cast stabilizes things and reduces the immediate pain so that the real work of physical therapy can begin. It doesn't heal the bone, but it creates the conditions for healing to happen.
That was a perfect analogy. Psychotherapy is the undisputed cornerstone of care. And there are several highly effective evidence-based models. One of the most well-known is dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT, which was designed specifically for borderline personality disorder. It's built on a core dialectic of acceptance and change. The therapist validates the person's immense pain while also coaching them on the skills they need to build a new life.
And these are very concrete skills, right? It's not just abstract talk.
Extremely concrete. DBT systematically teaches 4 modules of skills: core mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. It's essentially providing the psychological education that was missing during a person's development, giving them the tools to build what DBT calls a life worth living.
That is so profoundly hopeful. So what does the research say? With this kind of dedicated treatment, can people truly recover?
Yes, and this is where the old, pessimistic view of personality disorders has been completely overturned by modern research. Longitudinal studies that follow people for years have shown that these conditions are not a life sentence. It's important, though, to distinguish between 2 types of recovery. There's symptomatic remission and functional recovery.
What's the difference?
Symptomatic remission means the person's symptoms have reduced to the point where they no longer meet the diagnostic criteria, and the rates for that are incredibly high. Some long-term studies show over 85% of people with BPD achieve it. But functional recovery is a higher bar. It means also having a stable job or school life and healthy relationships. The rates for that are lower, around 50 to 60%.
That gap makes so much sense. Getting rid of this self-harm is one thing. Learning how to build a career and maintain a healthy partnership is a whole other long-term challenge. But the ultimate takeaway here feels incredibly optimistic. Change isn't just possible, it's probable with the right help.
That is the core message. It's about shifting our understanding away from seeing these as character flaws and towards seeing them as complex conditions born of pain, which can be treated with skill, compassion, and evidence-based hope. We'll be back with our final thoughts right after this.
Do you ever feel adrift, unsure of what you truly want out of life? The latest post on the Mindful Insights Substack, Finding Purpose and Living Values, explores how to reconnect with what truly matters. It's about moving beyond societal expectations and discovering your own authentic direction. To help you on this journey, there's a free value clarification exercise available at calmmind.life. It's a powerful tool to help you identify your core principles and start building a more meaningful life today. Visit calmmind.life to get started.
Charlie, that was a fantastic deep dive to kick off our podcast. I think approaching this topic with so much nuance and compassion is the most important thing we can do.
I couldn't agree more, Michelle. Understanding the why behind these difficult patterns is truly the bridge from judgment to empathy. Thank you for helping us build that bridge today. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on our very first episode. You've been listening to the Mindful Insights podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please consider subscribing and maybe share it with someone you think might need to hear it. You never know who you might be helping. Until next time, be kind to your mind.